What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, taking a look at the Kansept Corvid M, and the M in that stands for medium. There are two other knives in the Corvid series, the Mini and the XL, which I'll show at the end in size comparison, all designed by Koch and made by Kansept. So really cool series of knives. This is the light micarta and light brown micarta with the coated 154 cm blade, and they have a different handle materials. This one's right around 69 bucks, but if you want G10 or titanium, I think there's even some other blade steels, you can choose exactly what you're looking for. Definitely a fun series from them. This one is the kind of most normal. The other two are both extreme opposite ends of the spectrum, and this was the one that's really kind of a usable form of this knife, as you'll see. So still a pretty small knife, even though it's a medium, at 6¼ inches overall. 2½ inches of that is that blade, nice cleaver style blade on this, and 2¼ inches of cutting edge. You can see there's a pretty large sharpening choil, definitely a sharpening choil, although you can fit your finger in there and choke up on it a little bit. I haven't had any issues. You do see the tip of that gets kind of close to your finger when you're there, so can definitely see an accidental cut there, but haven't had any issues with that. Although I tend to stay behind this flipper tab, which acts as a finger guard, and 3.88 inches on the handle, and so if I'm staying behind that, I'm stuck at a 3-finger grip. My pinky's basically just hanging off, but I do feel locked in. I have used it pretty extensively with this grip, and it feels nice and secure. It doesn't feel like it's gonna fall out of your hand, and it's still comfortable even though it's a 3-finger grip. So definitely wouldn't mind seeing one more knife in this series, a large, something in between this knife and the XL. As you'll see, there's a nice space for that still. So 6¼ inches overall, weighs in at 3.85 ounces, so not extremely light, not super heavy either. Full flat grind on here up to that fuller. You can see that fuller it exists, but I'm not able to use it for deployment. Maybe someone is. I can't get enough kind of grip onto that fuller to flick this open, but already have 2 deployment methods, so that's pretty okay with me. You have this thumb stud, which works really well, as well as the flipper tab that works well as well. It is a liner lock, nice action on it. Detent's good, and both deployment methods feel really nice. You do have nice access to that liner lock, and that is kind of one of the downsides. It's obviously good that you have access to it, but I did notice after doing some extended cutting, maybe after 10 to 15 minutes, it's not a hot spot, but you start to feel it a little bit, maybe like a lukewarm spot, I guess. It's not extremely uncomfortable or anything, but you do start to feel it after some extended cutting. And so the trade-off is that if they dialed that back a little bit and maybe you didn't feel it as much, you wouldn't have as nice access to that liner lock. And so I don't really know that it needs to change. It's not something that's overwhelmingly uncomfortable. It's not a hot spot whatsoever, but definitely do feel it after a while. Now you see these 2 grooves that are cut into the micarta. This is just kind of a stylistic choice, but it does add just a little bit of grippiness to those handles. Jimping is also one of my favorite types, these kind of over dramatic jimpings. They lock your finger in well, and there's a nice kind of swoop down here where you can put your finger as well, and that's really comfortable as well. So a couple different points there. The blade itself is excellent for breaking down boxes. In fact, broke down a bunch of boxes today with it and didn't clean it off really, besides wiping it with a cloth. I didn't get any of that tape residue off, so you still see a lot of it there. But excellent for breaking down boxes. This tip is also really nice for opening packages because you're able to get in there, cut the tape without really getting too deep into the package itself and damaging anything that's inside. So this is really excels in that role. Anything around cardboard or unboxing, unpackaging, this really excels at. And so even with that 3-finger grip, it's really comfortable to do after an extended period of time. Now the pocket clip on here is not reversible, which is a little bit of a downside. The other downside is that it's not recessed and neither are the screws. And so really going to destroy your pockets there, and also just be kind of hard to get all the way up into that pocket clip. So definitely the biggest negative on here is the pocket clip. On the positive side for that is you really don't feel it. It's pretty much non-existent in hand. But if you did want to remove it, there's going to be 2 holes there. You can't flip it over to left-hand carry. So just something to keep in mind. does have a lanyard hole, and all three have that lanyard hole on them. And so nice placement on those, just kind of in that nice back corner tucked away. Billboarding is pretty minimal. There's a lot of it on here, but it's also small and tucked away that I don't mind it whatsoever. You have the model number and that 154 cm stamped right up against the edge of the handle, and really small print, and then the Kansept logo tucked between the handle and the thumb stud, and so really just kind of out of the way. On the other side, same thing, you have the maker's mark between the handle and the thumb stud, and Corvid M stamped right up against the handle itself, and so all tucked away nicely in a way that I don't really mind the billboarding on this. I think it's pretty minimal. Like I said, really great access to that liner lock, although that flipper tab does hit your thumb every time, which is, I guess, better than the corner of the blade and just eating up your nail, but it does keep it from falling shut, although you can easily just shake it shut with no problems whatsoever. Now, that's everything on this knife. Like I said, really comfortable. I think I would love a large size, but this one works really well for me and don't mind it so much. I might consider actually adding a lanyard to this one to get something to wrap my pinky on. It's not an issue where I'm in any sort of rush, but definitely wouldn't hurt in this particular knife. Now, I'm going to compare it to the medium and the XL. Both of those I got in orange. This one I didn't buy. I got it through Going Gear, and had I been picking it for myself, I probably would have gotten orange just to match it, but I do like this light brown micarta. You can see already if you look under the pocket clip, I'm not sure how well that shows up, I think it does, that the oils from my hand aren't really getting to the pocket clip, and so it's getting darker along the edges and kind of lighter in the middle behind that pocket clip in the area directly around that pocket clip. And so do like how that's patinaing, and I'm not going to get that so much with these orange G10. But let's look at the mini first, and this one is the most different from the medium because of the size. So they cut out those two cutouts, and this one is obviously G10, not micarta, but on both other models you have those stylistic cutouts here. That doesn't exist. Also no pocket clip or thumb stud, and so had to cut out some of those things, but still works pretty well for such a small knife. You definitely have to be more, I guess, purposeful in flipping this one. If you kind of half-ass it, it's not going to open, but really, really easy to deploy otherwise. You can see this one also has a decent amount of tape residue. This is excellent for opening packages. I've never actually tried breaking down a box. Maybe I should break down some boxes with this one just for fun. Really, really small blade. It's probably like 1.25 inches or so, maybe 1.5 inches max, but really small blade on it. And I have a neck sheath for this made out of Kydex that can kind of hold it in that position. And so works well in a fifth pocket, also works well in that capacity. Not really using this obviously for any heavy use. And you can see when you get it on top of that scale that it's basically the size of the handles overall on the medium. And so pretty dramatic difference. I don't know that they really need anything between the mini and the medium. Like a small wouldn't really make sense because this one's already at the smallest size where it's going to be super functional, and so anything smaller is not going to be super functional, and it's also not going to be as cool as this mini, and so don't really feel like there's kind of anything missing there. But that's not the case for the medium to the XL. The XL is insane. It's ridiculous. This is basically the width of a cell phone and thicker than a cell phone, so I've never actually carried this. That's another thing I should do. I should do a challenge where I break down some boxes with the mini and carry the XL for a few days, but it's just such a brick. It's so heavy, so wide that this one really doesn't even get used at home. It's just kind of tucked away and forgotten about, so that's why I should try carrying it a little bit. But action on this is also a little bit different. Very reliable, always flies open, and I think a lot of that is just momentum because it does feel a little bit slow. And so I feel like it just picks up momentum. It's a huge chunk of metal and always opens, but doesn't feel as satisfying as the other two. Now, this one has all of the same functions with the thumb stud, with the pocket clip, and with these cutouts in the G10. And so pretty much an exact, just kind of XL version of the medium. So that makes sense. Now, you can see there's a pretty big difference between these. There's definitely room for a large here where it's just something in between. You can get a 4-finger grip, maybe a 4¼ inch handle and a 3¼ inch blade, something like that would work well for it. But Really, really cool series. This is a lot of fun. These other two knives, you know, I think he made them not to be super usable. It was just a fun project, you know. Before this came out, it was only these two that existed, and neither one was super functional. You can obviously use this, but no one's, well, maybe I'm wrong, but not many people are going to be carrying this in their pocket. This one, maybe a lot of people are carrying, but it's a 5th pocket carry, obviously not going to be an EDC size knife. And so glad that they finally came out with the medium, and definitely hope that they continue to do this series. Also just like that they're doing weird and different things. I think it's good for the industry when people are just trying out different things and messing around and creating fun designs, because it pushes other companies to do the same thing. And for me, I definitely was excited to pick these two up just because they were so weird and different. But let me know what you think of this medium. Definitely think it's a really, really great user and worth the price point at $69. There's also some more premium versions if that's what you're into. Haven't ever handled one of those, and again, didn't actually pick this one out, but at the time that I got these, it was just, I believe, the G10 at the time. So really don't think I'm ever going to go back and visit those super premium ones unless I'm able to like handle them at a show or something. But still a fun series, and if they do come out with other sizes, I will probably pick them up. Even if they get more ridiculous than these, wouldn't mind seeing something smaller than this or larger than this. Still probably pick them up just for kind of the fun of the series. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button if you enjoyed this video. And I hope you have a great one. Take care.